Hi guys, Recovery Jimmy here. Forgot who I was there. No, I was just thinking I always seem to do that. I don't know, like Gordon Ramsay or something. Yeah, how we all doing? I'm good. Been working, sun's going down now, so you know it's time to kind of finish for the day, I guess. We make hay while the sun shines. That's the gardener's world. But I wanted to do a quick one today about just something that's been kind of playing in my mind. I heard something the other night, and it was on a TV program or something I was watching, and it said that humans we feel it inherent that we have to pick a side, which I thought was very kind of poignant, you know, for everything. And I'm not going to get political in this, but that is what we do. It's almost like, you know, you must pick a side. You can't just, you know, sit on the fence. There's absolutely nothing wrong with sitting on the fence. Now I'll tell you why in a minute. And I hate the term sitting on the fence because it sounds like you're kind of weak, or you're unsure, or you're not ready to make a commitment. And to be honest, that's bollocks. And I don't think it should be called sitting on the fence. It should be, you know, sticking to your own rules and being an individual. But anyway, so what I wanted to talk to that with it being recovery. Now, I did my 90 meetings in 90 days way back at the beginning, which is what they suggest that you do to kind of get a foothold into your recovery. And yeah, I tell many people to do that. And a lot of people are like, oh, you know, I can't make that kind of commitment. And fair enough, you know, if you don't want to commit to getting sober, then that's fine, you know. And I'm not saying that. I know people have jobs and this, that, and the other, but if you want to get sober and you want to do it properly and stay sober, then yeah, pretty much the only thing that worked for me was 90 meetings in 90 days. And I did more than that. I did, like, you know, I was sometimes doing 2 a day. Now, when I say meetings, I was doing AA, I was doing NA, I was doing CA, I was doing SMART, I was doing online, I can't even remember what they were called, like Zoom ones as well. I know a lot of them are Zoom. I wasn't in the meeting, but it was some other particular kind of group or type of recovery type meeting. But so that being said, that when I completed my 90 days, and I think it went on for quite a bit after. It wasn't like, right, I've done 90, I'm going to stop. It got to a point where I was like, right, I'm doing these, my life is kind of getting on track again, I'm working now, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, you know. And I was kind of like, I want to kind of start breaking down how many I'm going to. So for me, at that point, I stopped going to AA. I was getting on really well with the people in my NA, my CA group. Don't get me wrong, the people in my SMART group, really good friends as well. But I just felt at that time, I felt more connected to the NA, CA groups, which are pretty much the same people in them. So I thought, right, you know what, I'm gonna do that now. And that's how I ended up in the fellowship. But what I'm saying is, you know, I would never call myself a kind of member of the fellowship. Yeah, I went to the meetings and that, but for me it was more about the people that were there rather than what I was being, you know, told and this, that, and the other. And that's the thing. Like sometimes I hear in I'm not saying over here or whatever, but you know, if you read the literature or you watch, you know, you read books or watch YouTube videos, a lot of people say, you know, if you don't go to the fellowship, you don't go to the meetings, you'll relapse and you'll go back out. And it's very die hard. It's very like, if you don't do what we say or what's suggested, then you're going to go out and relapse. And I find that way of thinking a bit draconian. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, for me, all of the meetings, I absorbed everything that was being taught to me, you know, and then made up my own mind, you know. And I think that's what people need to do, rather than doing every single thing, you know, the 12 steps, you know, or ignoring that and doing what SMART's saying. No, don't ignore anything. Don't just do one thing. Do it all. You know, that's the whole point in recovery. There's no hard and fast set rule book about it. People in the fellowship will tell you that their way is the only way, and people in SMART will tell you that their way is the only way. Now, I don't know the stats or people that are in the fellowship or in SMART, but at the end of the day, the recovery rate for people with addiction is about 2%. So it's pretty abysmal anyway. So whether Smart gets a better rating or Fellowship gets a better, you know, kind of recovery rate, then it's probably fractions in a minuscule amount. So for me, it's not like, you know, if you go to a doctor and they say, which one do you want to go to? You know, do you want to try Smart? Do you want to try NA or CA or AA? Well, you go, well, which one's better? There's no way you can tell that. So for me, what I've done is I've taken bits of it all that not suit me, because it doesn't get in the way of things. That's not what I mean. Things that in my kind of spiritual and mental ethos, what they work for me, you know, that's what I think is going to be the best way for my recovery. So I'll follow those. And other parts might work for other people. You know, I've said it before, the whole higher power, and obviously they use the word God within the Fellowship in the big book, which puts a lot of people off because they're like, oh, I'm not religious. And yet the word God is not, you know, the Christian God or the Buddhist God or the Muslim God or the Jewish God. It's not a God at all. It's just they use that word because it's small and it's convenient. But it does put people off, and I think a lot of people then hear the word God and they focus on it being God of their understanding. But I think then it makes it quite a religious thing as well. So for me also with that, it says, you know, put your trust in God and, you know, and you know, basically surrender everything to that. Now, my higher power is the universe, as I've told you before, you know, kind of nature, everything around me, you know, it's a steering wheel, it's the lawnmower in the back, it's those birds up there that are, you know, dive bombing on the car. They're not really, you know, it's that ocean or the Irish Sea out there, it's that, you know, bit of barley or whatever that's blowing in the wind. Now, all of those things, that's my higher power. But I got sober myself. I'm the one that made this happen. I got help from my higher power, I guess, you know, because I am spiritual. I do believe in that. But they didn't, that higher power, or, you know, for convenience sake, God didn't do it. They helped me. Now, that's the big difference here. You know, I think a lot of people go in there and they're like, get me sober. And it's like, it doesn't happen like that. You're the one that gets you sober, and you're the one that keeps you sober by flicking that little switch up there, you know, that moment of clarity that they call it. It has to happen, because otherwise, you know, if you're just putting your faith in something else again, then, you know, it's like you're coasting without being in gear, and that's not cool, because you don't know where that's going to end up. You need to be in control. Now, you know, I went to all the meetings and I put my faith in my higher power and all that, but at the end of the day, it was me that decided to get sober and stay sober. I decided before and I couldn't do it. That's why I needed help, and I got the help. And you know, I'm eternally grateful for that. But then, you know, I shifted it into my own gear and I made this happen for me. You know, and that might sound like I'm being big-headed or anything like that, but what I'm not trying to do that. I'm trying to say that if you're struggling and you're trying to get sober and you're putting all your faith in this, that and the other, and it's not happening for you, it's because you're not flicking that little switch up in your brain and going, I need to fucking do this, or else I'm going to end up in jails, institutions, or I'm going to die. And that's it, plain and simple. You need to make that choice. And once you make that choice and you start getting those days behind you, and you're not going through withdrawal or anything like that, you've detoxed, you've got all that shit out of your system, then it's down to continuing on with that and keeping that, doing that. Now, there's so many ways of doing that, you know, exercise, going to meetings, fucking, you know, completely changing your lifestyle around, getting rid of people that are bad influences on you or just not supportive. All of these different things add up to you staying sober, but it's you that's doing it, and that's the kind of key element here. I know I've said all this before, but it was just playing on my mind today that, you know, I think people forget that at the end of the day, we get sober because we're the ones that do it, and we stay sober because we're the ones that do it. We get help, yes, of course we do, and we continue to get support and help, but at the end of the day, it's us that do it. and it's us that stay sober. So this is what I was saying. So this whole choosing sides thing and all that, and people that go, oh, you're going to Smart, or are you going to, you know, the Fellowship or whatever, or maybe some people just go to church, you know, and that's their thing. And it's like, you shouldn't be ridiculed or you know, or put down or anything just because you're choosing a different type of recovery group or whatever. But that being said, you can go to them all, you know. I mean, I did. It doesn't mean that you have to go to one thing. You go to as many as you want, and you know, if people say, oh, you're sitting on the fence, you're not choosing a side, fuck that. Don't choose a side. Sit on the fence, if that's what you want to call it, because at the end of the day, you're getting the best of everything, you know. And again, you're being individual. You're not just following everything like a sheep. And I actually like, you know, I was gonna say I like sheep, but then that sounds fucking weird, and I'm not from Wales or Aberdeen. Anyway, I like sheep because they're animals, they're creatures in nature, and they're pretty awesome because they do their own thing. I don't know why people say they follow like sheep. You see them on the sides of cliffs and all that, and they're doing their own thing. They're not like cows that are stuck in one field. Sheep just go and do what the fuck they like. Anyway, I digress. But what I'm saying is, be an individual, go to as many different meetings as you can, read as many different books as you can. It's not just all about the big book of AA. You know, watch all the YouTubes that you can, including mine, which you are, so then that negate that. You know, watch films. There's so many good, I can't remember anything, even the Sandra Bullock one that's called 28 Days, it's funny, but it's harrowing, and it's gripping as well. It's a good recovery film. You know, there's one that Steve Carell's been in recently, I think it's called A Beautiful Boy, which is based on a true story about him and his son going through his addiction. It's a fucking fantastic film. I think it's on the BBC iPlayer. If it's still on there, watch it. There's so many of these different things, and you know what, you take what you can from everything and what's going to work for you, and you know what you're going to utilize in your life, and some bits you'll go, do you know what, that's not going to work for me, and if it doesn't, then it doesn't. But don't just dismiss it straight away because it doesn't fit into your way of thinking or your way of life at this point, because at the end of the day, your way of life should be changing completely if you're getting into recovery. It should be, you know. You need to strip away all the things that are bad and that have harmed you or whatever, and you need to start really kind of rearranging your life. Maybe not completely change everything, but rearrange it, and then, you know, find out who you are and where you want to go. And rant over. I hope all of that made sense. It does make sense up here, but I don't know if I'm articulating it as well as it is in my head. Right,